Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to this Klamath Intruder tying tutorial. So we got a return eye shank in the vise, cut it down to about 25 millimeters. You don't need a very long shank for this. And then we've just got a size 2 Gamakatsu, and we've got some intruder wire. I'm gonna set up our hook first. So we're just gonna fold the intruder wire back on itself, go through the hook, put the hook through that loop, and then just pull the intruder wire tight like that. I always like to take a pair of needle nose pliers, grab the intruder wire, just pull it tight. Fish is going to do that anyway. And I just like it to be cinched in the first place so the hook doesn't get all wacky. And then all we have other than that is little tiny lead eyes in pink. I'm retying a pink Klamath Intruder. So let's just get going here. We're gonna throw some thread up here, close the return eye. We're only gonna bring our thread back about 1/4 of an inch, and then we're just gonna get started right with the intruder wire. So this hook is gonna ride up. Rule of thumb for me with intruder wire or any shank fly is I always just put it so that I can change the hook on it just far enough back, right? And then a lot of the times this will twist when you first tie it down. So just give it a few wraps and then pull on that hook. It'll straighten both the wires. We're gonna wrap this forward. If you're really looking for a 30-pound fish, you can double this back on itself through the eye. So for instance, take that, shove it through there, pull it back, and now tie that down. I don't need to do that. And I think the eyes actually sit better when you don't do that. I think super glue is fine. If you're pulling your shank straight, or your hook straight off the shank, you probably are using 40-pound test or something. I'm never going to be using that when I'm swinging this fly. Little bit of super glue, not crooked or crossed or anything. And then we're just going to pull it back over itself. Probably not the best idea to use your good scissors for that, but I do it all the time. And so you don't hook yourself. I like to just grab a little bit of junction tubing. It's uprighting hooks. It's so easy to hook yourself while you're tying them, pulling back materials and stuff. A little bit more super glue all the way around. That's not going anywhere, guaranteed. Now we're gonna throw our eyes on. Once you get that first wrap in, you're good. You're golden. So 2 over one way, and then just 2 over the other way. I like to just use my fingers and assist it, straighten it. 2 diagonal the other way, and then I do 3 around the base, and then 2 back. You're good. Now we're gonna take a look at this, just make sure they're perfectly level before we super glue them, so everything rides nice and smooth, and back in with the super glue. Boom. So that's your platform you're tying on. Now starts the fun stuff. I'm going Senyo's Fusion Dub Flame. Any orange dubbing will do. You could tie these in any color you want. Pink, purple, chartreuse black, black and blue, yellow and red. So there we go. Dubbing loop, low tack wax. This is the loon. I just pulled off what I was doing there, by the way. Pulled off the dubbing. You hold it loosely in both of your index and thumbs, and then just layer it back on itself. Just stacks all the fibers evenly. Throw that in the dubbing loop, spread it out. This should be about 1.5 inches long. Right there, boom. 1 finger on the end, spin your dubbing loop tool. I always like to come in and twist it like I would dubbing on like an old school, just thread, single thread. And that just lays everything down so that when I twist it over, the dubbing's not going everywhere. Because we just kind of want a tidy ball here. This is a nice clean one. Doesn't have to look super clean. This is just a prop. And I guess, you know, it is a little bit of a hot spot in the back of the fly too when you're swinging it. So next, I like to go in with Amherst again. Any color you want. You know, we got, let's grab some of the longer fibers off of this feather. So we're talking about, you know, stuff from this side. Amherst fibers, take 2 of them. That's why we need 8, because we're doing 2 at a time. And we're gonna go 4 positions for tie down. I like to take them apart and then flip them and put them back together. That way the spines are not aligned, so they don't stick to each other. So it looks much more buggy and tentacly. Go just past the hook. Something like that. 1 straight on top. 1, 2. Don't go crazy with your thread. Biggest tip I would give you in making, you know, Klamath Intruders that look clean, they look neat, they have small heads, kind of look well tied. They're not big flies, it's not bulky material, so you don't need to wrap everything down 100 times. Again, pull them apart, flip them. Doesn't matter which way you flip them. Turn. So now we're on the left side of the fly. We're gonna go, I like the ones on the sides to be a little bit longer. So I'm gonna go pretty much the whole length of this fiber here. 1, 2, that's it. We're gonna have plenty more wraps on top of this for other material, so I'm not worried about that coming out. Fibers, flip, bottom, tie it down. 1, 2. Last turn, 2 more fibers, right down the last side of the fly. So we're just going quartering around the shank, around the dubbing ball, tying in 2 at a time. Ones on the sides slightly longer. Just the reason I like that is because the ones on top kind of end with the hook. They don't hit the hook and you know, ruin their action. The ones on the side could be longer because they're going to be, you know, obviously out on the side, away from the hook, doing their thing, swimming around, looking buggy, hopefully getting grabbed. 1, 2. Now this last one, I'm going to go all the way up to the eyes, secure those down so they don't pull out, and then we're just going to trim the excess. Come through, trim everything up. Bam. This fly looks really funny until it's done when you spin that final rabbit. Now we're going to take some polar flash. It's all kind of by eye, right? About that much. And for some reason half of this is shorter. Just going to pull the short stuff out. Again, the one on top, we are going to lay just past hook length. About there. Just past hook length. I'd rather have it too long and trim it later than too short now. I actually like to tie this is essentially wing material, long on this fly. Some people make them really short, ends like before the hook or right at the hook. I like this hook, or this fly, to actually be a little bit longer, 2 inches longer. So I just threaded that over the top. Okay, we're gonna just pull it back. Tie it down again. Boom. Now spread it out. You can kind of pull it to the sides and the top, just like that. And then we are gonna flip this thing over, and we're just gonna tie in a little bit down at the bottom too. I don't know which direction the fish is gonna see this thing from or hit it from. So let's put some flash on all sides of this thing. Kind of glowing from underneath. That's really cool looking. Again, tie it in, take the long stuff and tie it back. Trim it a little past the length of the hook. This is what I was saying, this fly looks so funny until it's done, right? All right, it's rubber leg time now. We're using the Crusher Legs Fluorescent Orange Micro. I like the micro legs for the Klamath Intruders. It's a smaller pattern. I don't like big, bulky rubber legs on this fly, so these are super small. We're gonna grab 2 of these things. We're gonna just put that over our thread, so we've locked it in like that. And these are going on the side. So tie it in, pinched halfway in the middle. So now you have half of the legs pointing at the back of the fly, half of the legs pointing forward. Trap them down 3-4 times, and then pull the ones that are pointed forward back, and now trap them over, just like we did with the flash. So now all those 4 legs are pointing backwards. Do that for both sides. Really building up some squiddiness now. We got the Amherst, we've got the polar flash. I like a lot of polar flash in this fly because it creates what I call a shell. So when this is all moving underwater, it looks like a translucent shell, almost like on a prawn or something, like a ghost shrimp. Cool, everything's back. Dubbing loop time. 4-inch dubbing loop right at the base of where we tied in all these materials. Wrap the thread around the base of the dubbing loop 2 or 3 times to secure it, and then run your thread all the way forward. That's where we're going to trap the fur. So now we're going to take our crosscut rabbit strip, pull it tight, and just run your fingers against it, pinch it. The natural oils from your fingers, sweat, whatever you want to call it, will kind of sort it all out, get it a little bit neat. And then use a clamp, right? You could use a chip bag clamp, that would work great. This is a Stanfo clamp, I guess. Bought this at the Portland Fly Shop. So, boom, we're gonna cut our, skin. There you go. With that, just cut it as close as you can. All we want is the fur. Boom, perfect. Put that down for a second. Grab your dubbing loop. Put your dubbing spinning tool in it first, not after you do this. Dubbing wax, open the loop, 2 fingers, throw in the fur, clamp it down. Now, perfect transfer, got it nice and neat in there. Now we're gonna tap this. Get that fur as close to that loop as possible without pushing it out the other side. Less fur coming out that side means smaller spine on the loop. We spin this, brush it out. Toothbrush, wire brush, whatever. You don't have to go super hard. There's not a whole lot of material in this. And that's what I was talking about, right? We could see that spine is nice and small, nice and tight. That's what great fly tyers do. Material management, showing restraint, tidying things up. That's gonna make the head on this fly small. It's gonna make the fur longer because we pushed it through more. We're just gonna start wrapping this around the base. But yeah, just be patient while you're wrapping it. Control everything, pull everything back constantly. And now what you're gonna have is you're gonna have this huge slope because we've been building up materials. We got legs, flash, Amherst, and we have the wire. So you're gonna get this big slant, put one nice and tight. Now don't break your thread pulling it so tight at the top. And now, instead of trying to get stuff to sit on that slant, it's gonna fall anyway. Pull it right to the base and just go straight for the eyes. You're never gonna see that. Fur is always gonna cover it. Used to drive myself crazy. So I'd tie it on there and then everything would fall. Just go straight to where it's gonna sit and settle anyway. You'll get a much tighter wrap, and it's nice and sturdy now. So I'm pulling on this. It's not going anywhere. And that one at the top will sit just fine up there. Now we're going to wrap this until we run out. And then when I get to the bottom of that, I'm going to finish by going around the base of this twice. That's just going to make sure it's super secure. The weight of this will hold that down, so we don't need to hold that. Let it spin for all I care. And then at the eyes, there's some natural, you know, dimples, I guess you could say, that you could pull your thread into. And you'll feel it get snug in there. So I like to wiggle it in. It's almost like flossing a little. And then on the next one, cross it. So now we're up near the eye. Go over once. That's nice and secure. Whip finisher. In front of the eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull it tight. Boom. I'm going to resin this, so I don't need to whip finish again. I don't need to do another 3, another 5. Flip this over, cut it super close. Boom. Sometimes you get like random little fibers stuck in there. Okay, just cut them. Again, we've got time. No rush in fly tying. We've got UV resin. This is Solar Res, the thin, hard version. Again, show restraint here. I like to push out one little drop like that, and now just spread it using the nozzle. I'm not actually putting on more now. I'm just spreading what I just put down. If you're getting super thin, there's nothing left to spread. Squeeze a little more out. And then again, this will result in a super small head, which is way cooler looking than a big bulky thing at the front. Cure it with the light. That's plenty. Flip it over, do the same thing under here. 10-15 seconds. We're almost done. Boom, awesome. Now you can see the fly in all of its glory. I like to come through and just make sure that the rubber legs aren't all landing at the same spot. So I'm actually pretty happy with where they all are, but I'll shorten one. I'll cut some of the flash diagonally. I'll cut back a few rubber legs, make them, you know, nothing in nature is super symmetrical within animals. It's all individual differences. So I like my flies to look slightly, you know, wonky at the ends and stuff like that, but still very pristine and neat, small head, all the good stuff. So now we can take this thing off, let all of this fall down the other way. You could blow on it, and now you can see hot spot in the back, all that flash, the rubber legs, the Amherst. But what we're focusing on is that shank there. That's no good. We don't want that hanging out the back of our nice fly. Take some wire cutters. Go right down to the dubbing loop. Make sure you don't have any Amherst trapped in there, any flash trapped in there. It'll cut it off. It'll look, you know, you could cut half your rubber legs off by accident, ruin a fly. Now, this is arguably the most important part. That's sharp, right? We just cut that. That's a tough piece of metal. That could chew through some wire after 2 or 3 fish you catch on this thing. I love to take a file of any kind. You could use a knife sharpener. You could use a hook sharpener. That's never gonna abrade that wire. Abrase? It's never gonna damage the wire. There it is. Awesome. Klamath Intruder.